Once again, another unfortunate mass shooting, and this time the victims were of Asian descent. Many are calling for a stand in unity against hate crimes. But what will happen if we do so? What will be the outcome? We'll see at the top of the hour. And also, the Commonwealth has passed several voting rights bills to include more inclusiveness and representation in the voting system. But there was a lawsuit that helped to start it all here in Virginia Beach. You're listening to State of the Water. I'm your host, Dr. Eric Claville, and we'll be back in just a moment. Welcome back. You're listening to State of the Water. I'm your host, Dr. Eric Claville. Thank you again for joining us on this Sunday of March 21st, 2020. We've got a great show planned for you. Again, major issues impacting you right where you are here in the Commonwealth, and not only that, also across the country. But first of all, before we begin, I want to give a huge congratulations to the men's Spartan basketball team for their win in the first four, where they beat Appalachian State in order to play the number one team in the country. They represented the first 8 minutes of the game. It was very competitive, but the number one team in the country definitely had a little bit too much for our Spartan men this time, but they represented the Spartan nation well. So congratulations. They are arriving back on campus today. There is a vehicle, socially distanced vehicle, welcome for them as they come back on campus. But again, if you can't make it to campus, again, we don't want to have too many people gathered around, but we want to definitely give our thanks and congratulations to the Spartan men's basketball team for what they've done in the NCAA tournament. Our second win. And again, we can't forget about the big win several years ago when the number 15 seed NSU Spartan men took down the number 2 seed of Missouri. And of course, Kyle O'Quinn, who's currently in NBA right now, was a part of that team. And NSU's basketball team has been on a trajectory that really we just see no limits. Hats off to the coaching staff, everyone involved in this effort. Again, great showing, great way to represent the Spartan Nation nationwide, right? Because March Madness, this is on just about every major TV station. We got millions of brackets that are created for this event. So I think there's only one bracket that's left. That's correct on Yahoo brackets. I mean, maybe a few hundred that's left on ESPN. But again, hats off to the Spartan men. We've got a great foundation to build from with the coaching staff, who they actually noted is one of the top 5 winningest current coaches in NCAA basketball right now, current coach. So our coach is number 5 as the winningest coach right now at about almost 75%, 74% of his games that we are winning. So we got great leadership. Of course, great leadership at our university, and we've got great fans. So again, congratulations to the Spartan men basketball team. Today in the first half hour, we're going to talk about yet again these hate crimes. And I really want to address them, so I want to get your opinion on it. 757-823-9110, 757-823-9110. In the second half hour, we're going to talk about voting and how the legislature has answered the call of more inclusive voting, more representative voting, and outlawing these voting districts in certain cities in the Commonwealth that are discriminatory, according to the Voting Rights Act. But we're going to talk about a lawsuit that started it all here in Virginia Beach in the second half hour. But before we do so, we're going to bring on our good friend who is executive director at the United Way of Southampton Roads, Joe Brooks. Joe Brooks, thank you so much for coming again on State of the Water here at WNSB.
Great. Thank you very much, Eric. And first and foremost, I want to give a big shout out to the green and gold and congratulate the entire team along with Coach Robert Jones. They played, the number 1 seed in the country and lost to the team that is favored to win it all. And I thought that they gave a great account of themselves. It's a great performance, and I just want to give a huge shout out to the Norfolk State basketball team. Tremendous job.
Absolutely, absolutely. And look, your alma mater's not doing too bad. Syracuse, it looks like they made it through. So we'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens today. Absolutely.
But listen, you've got something, again, you're doing a great job over at the United Way of Southampton Road since you've been there, making tremendous strides, impact in the community. But there is something that you have that you've helped to spearhead that's going to make even a greater impact in our youth education-wise. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yes, it's the STEM Scholarship Award that is available to African-American students, high school students who are seniors who will be transitioning into college in the fall, specifically this year, and also adult learners who are honorably discharged veterans who are pursuing careers in the STEM field. We were awarded this scholarship from USAA, so big shout out to them. And they wanted to be able to uplift those that are underrepresented in our communities, specifically our Black and Brown communities. The African American Leadership Society of the United Way of Southampton Roads, we came together and said, okay, what is our biggest void? You know, when we look out across the landscape as far as careers are concerned, and we said there's a significant void within the STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. Less than 11%, of people represented in STEM are people of color. So we came together and said, let's make sure that we also, award this scholarship to not only African American students, but those who are pursuing careers in the STEM field. And by the way, Eric, 50% of the scholarships will go to African American women who are pursuing careers in STEM. So I, highly recommend, those high school students and those adult learners who are veterans going back to school to go to our website, which is AALS@UnitedWaySHR.org. That's AALS@UnitedWaySHR.org for more details. And just to give you some of the, main points of the scholarship, as I stated before, you have to be African American, you have to be a legal resident of the United States, you have to be a current resident of Hampton Roads, and have a cumulative GPA of 3.0 on an unweighted 4.0 scale or higher. And of course, you have to be pursuing a career in STEM. This is an excellent opportunity. The scholarships will be up to $10,000 per individual. So once again, the scholarships award will be $10,000, up to $10,000 for individuals that are awarded the scholarship. So I highly recommend that if you're pursuing a career in STEM, you check out our website.
Well, listen, there's so much to unpack there. I mean, first of all, hats off to the United Way of Southampton Roads and the African American Leadership Society and Council under your leadership, bringing this opportunity, to African American kids here in Hampton Roads area. I mean, you said up to $10,000. That's tremendous. I mean, being that there are a lot of state institutions where we have affordable tuition, but at the same time, those additional dollars can go an absolutely long way to help people achieve their dreams. And to tell me about those who are involved in this particular effort, the sponsorship of it, and people who have helped to put it together, because again, it takes a collective effort.
No, absolutely. We have an advisory panel that's helping us to roll out the scholarship award. On that advisory panel, we have Norfolk State's own Dr. Alicia McLean, who works within the acclaimed Benemis program, right, at Norfolk State, and she is one of our advisors. We have Robin Bird, who works for the United Negro College Fund. On the panel, we have Ashley Woodis, who works for Access College Foundation, and also Aubrey Thomas, who works for USAA, and our chair of the African American Leadership Society, Tom Hasty, who's a senior executive vice president for Town Bank. And also we have Toya Sosa, who's the chief diversity inclusion officer for a local healthcare company. They are on our advisory panel, once again, providing us, with the direction on awarding the scholarship. So that is, it's awesome to have that collection of talent. These folks work in the education equity space, and it's a big help to us.
Absolutely, absolutely. And again, you see, once again, the green and gold is represented in not just athletics and the arts, but also excellence in STEM with our Denima's program and our very own, as you mentioned, Associate Dean for College of Science, Dr. Alicia McLean, who is a part of this and helped to roll this out for the United Way. So we see the partnership between NSU and the United Way of Southampton Roads just flourishing and really making an impact in our community. I want to highlight some of your partners. I'm looking at the website right now, and I'm going to give out the website again, the address again, and we're going to promote this every single Sunday until the deadline of the scholarship itself, because we want to get as many of our African American students, young men and young women, this opportunity to help further their education. But according to your website, you're thanking your partners, Access College Foundation, United Negro College Fund, USAA, also the African American Leadership Society, and United Way of Southampton Roads. So again, a tremendous effort. And let me give that website again for everybody. That's www.unitedwayshr.org/STEM. That's www.unitedway SHR for Southampton Roads.org/STEM. You can find the scholarship information there. The deadline to submit this application is April 30th. I think the portal opened on March 1st, and the deadline is April 30th. So if you're a student who's coming to Norfolk State University and you want to major in a STEM field, whether you're part of the Denima's program or not, or if you're a veteran who wants to come back to college and get your master's or get a bachelor's degree in cybersecurity, this is it. This is it. This can help you get over that hump. So definitely apply for this, and we look forward to continue to promoting this. And again, thank you for the hard work that you're doing. Any closing remarks on this particular issue, or any updates on what the United Way is doing that we should be a part of? So,
Eric, first of all, thanks for that clarification. If you have questions or need assistance with your application, you can email aals@unitedwayshr.org. That's aals@unitedwayshr.org to apply, to learn of the details, and go through the required steps. It is unitedwayshr.org/STEM. That's unitedwayshr.org/STEM. And anyone, once again, who is a legal citizen of the United States and also a resident of Hampton Roads, if they are pursuing a career in STEM and they are a high school senior or are an adult learner going back to school for the first time, they can apply for the award no matter what school they're going to. So if they're going to Virginia Tech, or if they're going to a school out of state, but once again, they're a legal citizen and they are a resident, of Hampton Roads and pursuing a career in STEM, they can apply, for the financial assistance up to $10,000 per student, and 120 scholarships will be given out. Once again, 120 scholarships will be given out. So once again, this is an excellent opportunity. I want to thank you for allowing me to present to your listening audience. I also want to thank you for continuing to promote this great award out, because we want to be able to increase the number of African Americans, within the STEM field here in the United States.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being on State of the Ward and giving us these updates. Every time you come on, there's good things that you have going on, and we're glad to be a part of it in our partnership. And we'll talk soon.
Great. Thank you very much.
You got
Happy
it.
Sunday.
Same to you.
Bye-bye.
Well, you heard it there. Again, great opportunity, up to $10,000 scholarship offered for any high school student that wants to major in any STEM field, any university. And if you're coming to NSU, this opportunity is also for you. And we're grateful to have our very own, as Norfolk State University, the only university represented on this advisory board that helped to roll this program out. So NSU, again, we are raising the standard here and pushing the bar for excellence here on the Spartan Nation. But I want to switch now to this very important topic of the first half hour of hate crimes. Once again, we get the news of another mass shooting that has taken place here in our country. And unfortunately, it rings the same. It has the same variables of all of these mass shootings and these hate crimes. You have someone who is of Caucasian descent, white male, angry here in the United States, who takes out their anger and their frustration on non-whites, black people, people of color, as we term it now. We saw this with Dylan Roof in 2015 when he went inside of one of our churches, Emmanuel African American Episcopal Church, Mother Emanuel in South Carolina. For those of you who had a chance to see the black church, this is our story, this is our song. Phenomenal story, phenomenal historical documentary, and Emmanuel AME Church was centered there because that is the first. The AME is the first African American church organization here created in the country. And Mother Emanuel was really one of the first and major church in that particular area, and in the AME church itself, it has a prominent place. And Dylan Roof came in. He sat. Of course, we welcome him in, right? As we always do as African Americans. We welcome everyone in. And he sat in service. And at the end of service, before benediction, he pulled out a gun and killed everybody in the church. And listen, he killed everybody. And even though he had a gun, even though he killed, even though he reloaded, even though the police knew he had a gun, he was arrested without incident. Okay? And the young man was hungry. So what did the arresting officers do? They took him to Burger King and to the drive-thru and got him a Whopper. I'm not making this up. And then we know about the Unite the Right March here in Charlottesville, in Virginia, where you had, again, angry white males converge on the Commonwealth of Virginia. This is during former Governor Terry McAuliffe's term. And they converged here, and they united. And of course, we know they started at UVA, the juggernaut of the flagship institution of our state, and one of the major public research institutions in the country. And they converged on the campus, and they marched with tiki torches and images plastered across television screens, social media, and the like, screaming and angry. Angry for what? I don't know. But from there, we saw an uptick, a major uptick of hate crimes that took place. We saw the massacre in, of course, the Jewish synagogue in Pittsburgh. Again, another angry white male goes into a synagogue, a place of worship of individuals of Jewish faith, and kill the people there. We saw it in Christchurch in New Zealand. Again, there, and this is all within the last 5 years. Okay? We're not talking about, ancient history. We're talking about in the last 5 years. Went in, shot everybody up, killing people. Again, angry. Now, we saw also the desecration of Jewish cemeteries and also a lot of hate, graffiti across various walls and areas of where non-whites are. And unfortunately, this past week, another white male goes into 3 Asian American business establishment, and kill randomly people, 3 different ones, and kill them. And according to the spokesperson, the deputy, he just had a bad day. What can we do? Where are we in our nation? Is this really who we are? Is this a new phenomenon, or is history simply repeating itself? 757-823-9110, 757-823-9110. I want to hear your take on this. Again, 757-823-9110. What are your thoughts about the current hate crimes? What are your thoughts about the current, and I'm calling them hate crimes. I'm calling it. What do you think about this current mass shooting? This current mass shooting that we have. Now, again, the evidence has not been generated to come to a succinct conclusion about the mind state and what happened behind this thing. But we do know that it definitely has the same variables of all other mass shootings that we've experienced in the last 5-6 years. Okay? Guns, angry white males. For Dylan Roof, he left a manifesto. Again, racist tropes. Black men are raping all the white women. They're taking over our country. Immigration issues that they talk about and so forth. This is all in his book, all in what he's written down. If you go to the various websites, the Proud Boys and other Oath Keepers and things of that nature, a lot of these things have been shut down through social media. Of course, we know just last year, earlier this year, with all the testimony on Capitol Hill, with the founder of Twitter, also Facebook, and the like, and others, they've shut a lot of these things down where they start to now question, and they put up during the time of former President Trump, they put up, hey, this is false, notices and so forth. But it tends to generate a life of its own in what's called the dark web. We know now one of our current U.S. congresspersons in Congress out of Georgia, again, Georgia connection here, who believes in this QAnon, one of the highest ranking officials in our country, who believes in this QAnon conspiracy. So there's a lot of things to unwrap there, but we've got a caller on the line. Caller, welcome to State of the Water. Give us your name and where you're calling from.
Hey, how you doing? I'm Troy out of Hampton.
Troy, thank you so much for being on State of the Water. What's on your mind, sir?
Yeah. So just listening into the recent hate crimes for the past, since it's been on the news for the past couple of days, I think we first are misdiagnosing and labeling it as hate crimes instead of denouncing and confronting white supremacy. Each time in these situations where you reference Dylan Roof, this gentleman here, I don't know his name, but every time these situations happen, it's always, it's a hate crime. It's always some, escape where we don't hold the Caucasian community accountable. Versus if it were to happen, or if the suspect was of another ethnicity, then he's a terrorist, or it's domestic terrorism, or it's always something. But when it's someone from the Caucasian community, it always seems to be, it's a hate crime, or he's having a bad day, as if this stuff is normal.
Right.
So we misdiagnose the situation, and me personally, I don't think it's hate crimes. I just think it's this notion of white supremacy that's been dominant in this country for years, and no one wants to kind of address that, because when we address that, then I think that opens up a whole nother can of worms that is obvious, is an obvious elephant in the room.
Well. First of all, thank you so much for the call. Now, if you could stay on the line for a second, the name of the killer in Atlanta, his name is Robert Aaron Long. That was reported in the news. Robert Aaron Long. So we add his name to Dylan Roof and the others that are committing these heinous crimes. But aren't hate crimes and white supremacy, or aren't they intrinsically connected? Because because of white supremacy or the ideology of it, you commit these horrible acts.
Yeah, I think they are connected, but I think labeling it a hate crime diminishes or puts on the back burner white supremacy.
Gotcha.
We never want to deal with the topic of white supremacy, because then someone has to be held accountable.
There you go.
We look at the topic of reparations. if black folks were to get reparations, then in my opinion, I think that's the accountability that Caucasians have to accept. Like, okay, what we did was horrible.
Mm-hmm.
But if we can label this, going back to the hate crimes, if we can label this as hate crimes, then deep down we never have to deal with the issue at hand, which is white supremacy.
Right.
You know, what would make someone in their right mind go somewhere and, you know, from what I was reading, I think he said it was a temptation that he wanted to get rid of. You know, we go back to the notion of white supremacy where you feel as if you're so superior that you have the ability to take another life because they're a temptation to you. You know, so the notion of I think is just white supremacy, but we hide behind hate crimes because that softens the real elephant in the room.
Thank you so much for your call, and thank you for supporting Stay the Water.
No problem. Have a great day.
You got it. Well, you know, there you have it. It's just the notion of white supremacy and what is behind the mindset of a person, the state of mind of a person to carry something like that out. You know, now we're not talking about just things that are random. I mean, we're talking about some major issues here, right? Because to pick up a gun, to go inside of a place that you've never been and just start shooting randomly, I mean, something has to take place in a person. I mean, all of us get angry, right? Some of us respond by, you know, kicking a wall, maybe throwing over a chair, overeating, or maybe saying some words to somebody that you shouldn't say, or even maybe getting into a little what we call schoolyard fight. But in order to pick up a gun and lash out to someone you don't know, that's something that we have to deal with. And I think the caller has talked about and really uncovered one of the major issues, the underlying issue is white supremacy. You know, and again, keep in mind, there is no law or crime against domestic terrorism. Even after, that's right, there's no crime against domestic terrorism. Because the biggest, and keep in mind, according to the FBI, the biggest threat of domestic terrorism is white supremacy. But there's no crime against no federal crime. Even after the destruction in Oklahoma City bombing, we still did not enact a crime for domestic terrorism. So where do we go? But here on Save the Water, these are things that we like to talk about. These are things that we like to bring to you, the public, we're going to continue to look at this issue. And I want you to continue to stay keyed in and see where we go from here. So we want you to join us for the second half hour when we talk about voting rights and being more inclusive. We'll be back in just a moment.
Blazing Hot 91 celebrates Women's History Month. Blazing the trails. The ladies of history.
Brianna Daniels, former Norfolk State women's basketball player and now first African-American female pit crew member. Brianna was born January 1994. She was raised in Virginia Beach and is a 2012 graduate of Salem High School. Miss Daniels was an avid basketball player. She was the point and shooting guard while at Norfolk State University. Daniels was invited to participate in NASCAR's Drive for Diversity Pit Crew Development Program. Miss Daniels performed much better than expected, beating out many of her male counterparts through the tough obstacle course. 3 weeks later, Brianna was invited back to the Pit Crew Combine. She placed in the top 10 and was accepted into the program. Brianna will be one of 6 females who will be Drive for Diversity alums to reach NASCAR's highest level. In 2019, Brianna competed on NBC's reality TV series, The Titan Game.
Blazing Hot 91 celebrates Women's History Month. Blazing the trails. The ladies of history.
Make sure you wake up early Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. with the Blazing Hot Morning Show.
I'm Cheryl Wilkerson. I'll have your Behold moment, your good news, your headline news, and don't forget, entertainment news.
I'm DJ INC from the Top Ropes. I'll tell you why every day's a holiday. I'll give you the update on those sports and on-the-spot traffic and weather updates.
And check out the Blazing Hot Tea Report with your girl K Noteworthy, where I'll be serving all the scoop about your favorite celebrities.
And can't forget about the Blazing Hot Morning Shower mix with the legendary DJ Heart Attack. So start your day with us Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. right here on Blazing Hot 91. We'll get through this together.
Welcome back. This is Stay the Water. I'm your host, Dr. Eric Claville. And we want to thank you for joining us here on this Sunday, March 21st, 2021. Once again, we like to give a congratulations and a behold to the men's basketball team here in Spartan Nation who won their first 4 against Appalachian State and received the honor of playing the number 1 team in the country, number 1 seed, Gonzaga. They represented very well the Spartan Nation. Very competitive game in the first half, but then Gonzaga overwhelmed them. And then, of course, but again, We are so proud of our Spartan Nation basketball team and all that are connected to it and the great things that they're doing. We've got great leadership, and we can only go up from here. So continue to behold, because the best is yet to come. Once again, congratulations to the Spartan Nation men's basketball team. In the first half hour, we talked about the hate crimes here that we're experiencing in our country, and we're going to stay keyed into those and continue to talk about them and follow this, because it's not going to go away until we come together as a nation and understand that we're better together than we are pulled apart and separated. In the second half hour, we want to deal now with voting rights. I don't know if you know, but the legislature here in the Commonwealth of Virginia recently passed in this last legislative cycle 3 voting rights bills that will give an opportunity for more inclusive and representative voting here in the Commonwealth. One of the, and there are several bills that I think are very major, and I want to make sure that we and our listeners know about this. House Bill 1890 prohibits discrimination in voting in elections and also the administration of it. In other words, this particular bill itself prohibits any standard of practice or procedure imposed or applied on any citizen in prohibiting them from voting regardless of their race or their ethnic group. You know, this gives more access to the ballot. And there are a lot we know that we're seeing in Georgia, we're seeing in other states that saw an uptick of voting by a lot of non-white groups, or what they call minority groups. I don't like to use the word minority, but people of color groups, non-white groups, and also a lot of first-time voters having access to the ballot. You know, of course, we saw mail-in ballots, and of course there was the lies and of fraud, which of course have been disproved across the board through the courts, and the people who push those, Giuliani and others from the Trump administration, are being sued. And since they've been sued, they haven't said anything else about fraud. And we saw even all of the stations that carried that message have stopped carrying that message. They won't even talk about it because they know that it simply was not true. Also, our very own Senator Lionel Spruill sponsored Senate Bill 1157, which calls all municipal elections to shift from June until November. From May until November. So that means that all municipal elections, all local elections for cities and towns, for council, school board, are going to go from May to November, starting January 1st, 2022. Now, this is significant. This is extremely significant because we see a very low voter turnout in May. Okay? A lot of people are going on vacation. A lot of people are trying to close out school and so forth. And keep in mind, voter suppression happens in many ways, not just by intimidation, not just by public policy, but also when you hold the election. So in order to get more participation in our elections, because all politics is local, all right? All politics is local. Your city council, your mayor, your school board pass policies that affect you more so on an everyday basis than are passed in Congress or even passed in our state legislature. Think about that. All politics is local. So this is very important by our very own Senator Spruill in sponsoring this particular bill, this Senate bill, in order to get elections in November, because we're used to voting for the president in November. We're used to voting for our governor, which we have a governor's election for statewide elections for governor, lieutenant governor, and attorney general this year. This gets more people to the polls, allows more people to come and vote and participate, because ultimately, when more people participate in our democracy works better. Our democracy works better. And also, House Bill 2198. House Bill 2198 is a bill that was sponsored by Delegate Kelly Fowler, and also Alex Askew out of Virginia Beach, co-sponsored by him, which holds that all governing bodies, elections for school boards and the like, local elections, provides that the localities impose a district-based or ward-based residency requirement for members of governing bodies, so that those members elected from each district or ward is elected by the qualified voters of that district and locality, and not by the locality at large. This starts January 1st, 2022. What does that mean? That basically means that any at-large voting system is now basically outlawed by, it's not in line with state law, okay? And this also helps the fact that basically you vote for the person who lives in your district. This is the person that more likely goes to the same grocery store as you. This is the person that more likely goes to the same church as you. This is the person whose kids more likely go to the same school as your kids, public schools there. This is the person that you see in your community on a daily basis. So that way, the person that you will elect has an opportunity to interact with you more so on a daily basis, which gives you more access to your representative. Makes sense. But believe it or not, every city in the Commonwealth does not have this system. We know back that the city of Norfolk, about 40 years ago, actually had a federal lawsuit against their system because it was discriminatory. In other words, persons who were voted at large, that means the entire city can vote for all spots locally, ended up voting for a lot of individuals that did not represent the city of Norfolk or the people of Norfolk. So the federal lawsuit outlawed that particular system here in the city of Norfolk. But there is another city here in Virginia Beach that still has that at-large system. So even though we have these bills that are starting could become effective January 1st, 2022, there was a lawsuit that started it all. And it was filed in part by Virginia residents Latasha Holloway and Georgia Allen, asking the federal court to change the city's election system to district-based voting to remedy what they believe has been a violation of Section 2 of the 1965 Voting Rights Act. The suit itself is named Holloway versus the City of Virginia Beach. And we have with us one of the plaintiffs of that lawsuit, Latasha Holloway. Welcome to Stay the Water.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. Now, I mentioned the lawsuit itself and the reason why you filed it, but just a little background about this particular lawsuit itself. I mentioned earlier that there's one city left in the Commonwealth, which is the largest city and the wealthiest city here in Virginia, Virginia Beach itself, that still has a system that's not ward-based or district-based. Tell us a little bit about how that system actually operates in Virginia Beach.
Well, I'm here today to just tell you that it's a painful city to live in that the system that is currently at hand is an apartheid system, meaning that it is a system that supports and promotes white supremacy and prohibits people of color from obtaining any type of position as far as on council. Basically, if you reside in a district, let's just take a Kempsville district, for example, and you obtain every vote from every resident that lives in that district, individuals that live outside of your district are able to overpower every vote in that district that voted for you, and you will not be able to become representative of that Kempsville district. It will be someone who lives outside of that Kempsville district that then is representative of you. And we know how that works. Once that person that does not live in the Kempsville district is supposed to be representative of that district, because they don't live there, their interest is not there. So funds and, the monetary resources that come into the city that are intended to be equally distributed end up never making it to that said district because the person that is representing it does not reside there and has no interest in those areas.
Wow.
And so that is what people of color have been living with in the city of Virginia Beach for generations.
Wow. Now, let person understand that the city of Virginia Beach itself population is basically 20% black, according to the current demographics. 20% African American. It is also 0.4% Native American. It's also 6% Asian American, which includes 4% Filipino, 0.5% Chinese, 0.4% Indian, 0.4% Vietnamese, Korean, and also 0.2% Japanese. And it is roughly 68% white or Caucasian, right? So if you go to the Virginia Beach website and the government, and they take a look at the city council itself, you can see by the pictures that it's more than likely not representative of the population or demographics of the city of Virginia Beach. And it also is a system where you can vote at large. So basically, you don't have to live in the city of Virginia Beach to be able to run for a position in Virginia Beach in order to get that at large seat. Mm-hmm. So you have an opportunity now with this lawsuit to change that to a ward base or district base. Tell us why did you, are you a lawyer? Are you a major business person?
I am a proud graduate of Norfolk State University. I am a single mother of 4. I lived my life caring for children with unique needs, my own children. And unbeknownst to me, I learned that those children were being severely mistreated in the city of Virginia Beach public schools. Wow. And when I approached those powers that be, those leaders in my community, and asked them to be a champion of the needs of my children as my children had been hurt, I was heartbroken to learn that my children's lives didn't matter. My life didn't matter. In fact, the attitude from, the city of Virginia Beach, council members, school board members, was, you don't have a voice and you don't matter anyway, so we won't even acknowledge you. And yes, they would not even acknowledge me. And so as a result of that dismissal and just, learning that my children weren't the only children that were being hurt, I took it upon myself to be the change I wanted to see in my city. And I filed a pro se lawsuit. I went to a lot of the leaders. I inquired and asked for them to join me so that we could do something similar to what Norfolk did in the Collins case. And I basically modeled my lawsuit after the Collins case. And unfortunately, I didn't get the support that I thought that I would have gotten. But nevertheless, that did not stop me. I had to persevere, and it wasn't just for me. It was for my children and the children that came before my children and the children that will come after my children, as a result of living in a city where you do not have anyone to represent the needs of your community. And so that's how my lawsuit came about, and I'm so happy and proud that I had my day in court.
Wow. Well, right now you're listening to WNSB Blazing Hot 91. This is Save the Water. I'm your host, Dr. Eric Claville. On the show, we're currently talking about the voting rights bills that were passed in the state legislature, which take effect January 1st, 2022. And currently, we're also talking about the lawsuit that started it all of Holloway versus the city of Virginia Beach, looking to change the at-large system of voting for local officials, the city council, to a ward or district-based system. And we have currently on the line Latasha Holloway, who is one of the plaintiffs for this particular case. So you're telling us that you actually... You're not a lawyer. You're not a major business person. You're just a concerned citizen of the city and proud mother and also proud graduate of Norfolk State that filed this lawsuit. And pro se, for people that don't know what that is, that means you filed it basically by yourself without any representation.
Exactly.
Wow.
And most people don't understand how the process works when you're filing a federal lawsuit. But when you file, there's a filing fee. And the filing fee, I believe, is like over $500 some odd. I didn't have that as a single mother of 4. There were a lot of obstacles that were there present to hinder my ability to file. But I am here to tell anyone within earshot of this radio broadcast, do not let that deter you. There are means for you to apply. There is a form that you can fill out, a hardship form that will enable the courts to review. And that's what I did. They reviewed over my application and my lawsuit, and they saw the validity not only of my complaint, and they allowed my lawsuit to proceed. And so I'm so grateful that God used me in that way, to persevere in spite of all of the challenges that come in filing a lawsuit.
I don't think that people really understand the drive that goes into, what you've just done. And keep in mind, as you stated, you're a mother. You're definitely not wealthy and didn't know the court process. But still, there was something in you that said, listen, I'm going to do this. It may not benefit me, but it's going to benefit others who come after me. And you just didn't do this in like city court or something in circuit court. You filed this in federal court. What was the drive behind actually, standing up and really keep in mind this was a major issue where the city of Virginia Beach had all the resources to fight against you, and it's just you. What went behind that boldness to actually take this stand?
Well, apartheid is basically the inability for any non-white person to make decisions for themselves, okay? So when I came to the realization that I went to Child Protective Services and they wouldn't even take a report, the police wouldn't take a report, the judicial system would not even prosecute the persons that harmed my children, you come to the realization that, wait a minute, there's two systems here. There's a system for white people, and then there's a system for the rest of us. And in the system for the rest of us, we don't get equal protection. And so in that, I felt the need to just press forward and bring to the attention of the court. And my argument was clear. It was simple. The current at-large apartheid system dilutes the voices of people of color. It dilutes our voting strength of all the minorities in the city of Virginia Beach. It deprives us of equal opportunity to elect candidates of our choice. And this is just clearly a violation. It's a violation of the Voting Rights Act of 1965. And I needed just to be a siren for the rest of Virginia to let everyone know how painful it is to live in a system where no one is representing you. No one cares. There's two systems, and you happen to be the second-class citizen. It's too painful to continue to live in those conditions. And so that was my main objective for bringing forward that the lawsuit and bringing attention to these injustices in the city of Virginia Beach. I even said in court, I'm here to indict the city of Virginia Beach. That's what this is. You violated the rights of my people of color. You violated my rights. You've harmed us. And I need for you to be held accountable.
Yeah. Now, I want to make sure that we understand and clear something up. The members, if you go to the Virginia Beach vbgov.com website, you can see the city council members and see how they're elected. I want to make my statement clear that members of council serve 4-year terms, and this is from the website, and are elected on staggered basis. 3 council members and the mayor serve what's called at large, with no district residency requirement. All others are required to live in the districts they represent. So there is no district requirement for you to live. You can basically run at large and be elected to serve on the city council of Virginia Beach, including the mayor. And this is a system that we had here in the city of Norfolk under the Collins case. If you go back and take a look at that, you can see these on the United States Department of Justice website for voting rights. And you can look at this lawsuit now here on Virginia Beach's government website, vbgov.com, and look at the city of Virginia Beach position on this case, because they believe that there is no discriminatory effect in the way that the system is now. So you can go there and you can take a look at this case under Holloway versus Virginia Beach and look at the city of Virginia Beach's stance on this, and also what this case is about, the legal standard, and also why the case was filed. Where currently is the case now? It's still in federal court. And has it been decided, or is it is there still discovery? Do you know at what point this case is now?
We had trial in November of 2020, and we are currently waiting for the judge to render its verdict. And I just want to say to all the listening audience, I feel very confident. That prayerfully the judge will see that there's been a great injustice done to every person who's ever resided in the city of Virginia Beach that was of color. And so I'm prayerfully hopeful that when this verdict is rendered, that we will be victorious in finding a remedy that will bring forth equality in our city. And we have to start with an equitable voting system. There's no other place to start. We need to see our city council reflective of the people who reside in our city. And That's what this is all about.
Wow. A lot of times, we talk about public policy on this particular show, and I know that in the news we see a lot of our elected officials, but we forget that it's the people, everyday people, that really have the greatest power, because you have the power to create movements, the power to create change right where you live. And we don't have to go back to the 60s. We don't have to go back to the 50s. We don't have to go back to Core and SNCC. We can start right now and look what Stacey Abrams is doing in Atlanta and all others who are coalescing around her and galvanizing around that effort of voting. And we can look right here, at what you're doing, Latasha Holloway, who I'll call the Stacey Abrams of Hampton Roads, and what you're doing here with this particular lawsuit. And again, the boldness and the faith that you have to take that stand, not having any support around you, but take that stand, walk into federal court, and as you stated, indict the city of Virginia Beach for the acts that they've done. I mean, hats off to you. And again, another proud NSU alum who is making a change in her community. I want to ask you right now, so you have this lawsuit, but obviously, this issue is not something that you have just started. What are you doing now? What are your efforts in the community? What are you looking to do and looking to galvanize and push for more change in your community?
Well, I'm happy to say that after trial in November, I did take steps to initiate two organizations, one being a nonprofit called Vote Truth to Power. And we have the hopes that we can engage and galvanize our community and be that beacon of light that has been missing from our community in giving the people of the community who have been historically disenfranchised a place to go and a place that they can voice their concern, and that we will be responsive to that concern. In other words, we have become the change that we want to see. And no longer are we, even after this lawsuit, going to be dependent on someone else doing it for us. Even if you won't do it for us, City of Virginia Beach, we'll do it ourselves. And that's what we're doing. I also have another organization called the Virginia Beach Coalition. And I invite anyone that would be interested in participating with us as well. And we're basically the lobby side of it. We are pushing forth our agenda, pushing forth issues that have adversely affected communities of color. And so I'm very, very proud of those two organizations. Absolutely.
And where can they find more information about those two organizations?
Okay. You can go on the website, www.vbcoalition.org, and you can sign up and become a volunteer. In addition to contacting me directly, you can contact me at Latasha_Holloway at hotmail.com.
Awesome. That's www.vbcoalition.com, and you can go sign up and be a part of this effort, this movement. Latasha Holloway, again, another proud NSU alum. We're so happy to have you, so honored to have you. And I'm so glad we were able to let the community know that things just didn't start in the legislature, but it started on the ground, and it started from a passion of a citizen here in Hampton Roads that wanted to see the change. And you are the epitome of be the change that you want to see. So we're looking forward to have you back after the verdict of this lawsuit, Holloway versus Virginia Beach. And for all those that want to learn more about it, the city's position, you can go to vbgov.com and see it. We'll look to have you back again. Thank you so much, Ms. Holloway.
Thank you for having me.
Well, there you have it. Again, be the change that you want to see. That story there tells it all. It tells us how movements are created. It tells us how the everyday people can go and make change in their community. You know, you don't have to have all the money in the world. You don't have to have all the support. But what you have to have is a desire, a dream, and the ability to do it. So we're going to be watching that very closely. And again, once again, we thank you so much for joining us here on State of the Water, where we bring movers and shakers and policymakers to you, the community, to discuss issues that are important to you and to ensure that you know what's going on in your community so that you can be the change that you want to see. Again, we want to give a congratulations to the Spartan men's basketball team for their victory and representing the Spartan Nation well on the biggest stage that we have in college basketball. Hats off to the coaching staff. And again, the Spartan Nation is so proud. We will see you again next Sunday at 1 o'clock. Again, be well. God bless.